So can we start, sir?
Yes, sir, we can start.
Good afternoon, participants. Welcome back to the afternoon session. For today's afternoon session, we have our very own Dr. V. Kumar Chineyan, sir, Professor and Head, Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering from KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, to tell about sir. Sir has completed his bachelor's degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Annamalai University and master's degree in Power Electronics Drives from PSG College of Technology, and he has obtained his PhD degree in Electrical Engineering from Anna University in the year 2011. He has over 21 years of rich experience in both research and academic field. Over the years of his tenure, he has procured around 35 lakhs as grants for conduction of various FDPs, workshops, seminars, and all those stuff. Yes, under 3 patents under his credit, and he has made 3 resource persons to complete their PhD as well. He has completed his consultancy work for NTPC Vidyanchal Madhya Pradesh, Chennai Metro Rail Limited, and ZF Wind Power. He has completed around 12 plus NPTEL certification courses, and he has been a steering committee member towards the development of KPR IET. He has published many papers in national and international journals and is a reviewer in most of the reputed journals. I invite him to take over the session and do the proceedings, sir. Sir?
Yeah. Thank you, Ravi Kumar, sir. Thank you. So good afternoon to all. Hope everyone of the participants have joined the meeting. So we will start the proceedings and we will progress with the presentation. So the topic for the discussion on the afternoon session is that mitigation of power quality issues in grid connected EV systems. So why we are going for the power quality issues or the grid connection means we are all aware about the power generation, whereas the generating units are going to get located at the remote places and which is going to get connected to the cities or the required places through the grid. So as far as India is concerned, we are operating on the one nation, one grid policy, and the frequency also going to be one. So one grid, one frequency. So almost all the 5 grids are interconnected through the national grid. That is the entire distribution networks are going to be connected, and which is going to maintain the supply frequency as nearly to the 50 hertz. So under this condition, we are supposed to have the varieties of power generation. It starts from the conventional generation generating power generating stations like the coal-based power plants. Then we are going to have the hydro power plants, followed by the wind power generation. That is the renewable energy sector. That is the tidal energy. Then comes the solar energy, and then and there they are going to have the gas-based power plants, and they do have the diesel generator-based power plants. So while going for the interconnection of these power plants, the important element is the grid. So whenever we are going to connect the loads or the generating units to the grids, we are supposed to adhere the laid down norms of the grid. That is the frequency. The first parameter is the frequency. Second one is the voltage level, and the third one is the phase sequences. So while synchronization itself, we are going to check all these parameters. There is any deviations, then we are unable to connect the generating units with the grid. So where comes this power quality? So with the rise in the nonlinear loads such as the power electronic converters or the induction power electronic converters or these renewable energy converters, there comes the issue of nonlinear loads, and which is going to affect the waveform shapes of the generated power supply. It is going to be an alternator, then we can able to obtain the pure sinusoidal waveform. When it comes to the generation through the inverters of any kind, we are going to process the power, that is the DC power, and which is going to get converted into the AC. There comes the issues of power quality. So while interconnection of these generating stations, we are supposed to experience the power quality issues. When it comes to the consumption also, at the consumer end also, we do have the power electronic system or the power processing units, again, which is going to create the power quality issues. That is, again, which is going to disturb the voltage waveform, current waveform, and the frequency or the shape of the waveforms. So these are all the issues pertaining to the consumption as well as the generation. So when it comes to the grid interconnected system, we are supposed to monitor, supervise, and correct the issues relevant to the power quality. And when it comes to the EV systems, which is an upcoming area, so in the year of 2000, the decades of 2000 or 90s, or in the early 2000, 2010 or so, we used to have the power electronic converters meant for the drives or meant for the industrial processes. So in the year of 2015 to 16, this comes the EV system plays the vital role, and the electric vehicles, that is with the government of India initiatives, that is the FAME 1, FAME 2, and the push towards the manufacturing of the EV components. These power electronic converters applications become very higher, and followed by the conservation of the fuels, thereby the conservation of the forex reserves. So when it comes to the government of India, the government of India is importing the huge quantum of barrels of petroleum products in order to refine it to to cater the requirements of the automotive industries. So when it comes to the automotive industries, almost till date around 95 to 97% of the vehicles or the transportation happens through the petroleum products, and the rest of the things, little quantum is carried out by the railways, that is through the electricity. And when it comes to the passenger segment, the railways alone is utilizing the electrical power for the transportation purpose. Whereas the passenger segment, the other types of vehicles, that is the two-wheelers or the four-wheelers, are coming, and the accessories manufacturing units are also coming up. So as far as India is concerned, right now we are focusing on the importing of the lithium ion ores from the Australia mines or from the China. And when it comes to the manufacturing of the accessories of the electric vehicles, we are concentrating on our own. And as I already mentioned, the government of India is giving the push towards the FAME 1 and FAME 2. Each scheme consists of the 10,000 plus crores special purpose vehicle, which is meant for the EV manufacturing. So when it comes to the electric vehicles, the predominant thing is the passenger car. The advantage of going for the electric vehicles is that, which is an alternative one for the conventional petroleum fuel, which is safe and eco-friendly when it comes to the nitrous oxide or the carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide emissions, which is very eco-friendly. And when it comes to the prices, which is very economical, and we are all aware about the petrol price is nearing triple digit, and in certain cities or in the metros crossed the 100 rupees also. And maintenance is also easy when it comes to the electric car. The mechanical parts are going to be very lesser, thereby the wear and tear is going to be minimal, and hence the ease of maintenance is another thing. And right now, many of the major players like Mahindra, Tata, the Hyundai are already launched their vehicle, and you can able to see in the highways with the green number plate cars, which is the electric vehicle, which is enjoying the road tax and other GST benefits when it comes to the consumer end. So these are all the advantage of going for the electric vehicle. So once upon a time, we do have the consumption of the power with respect to the generation, that is the 70% of the power goes to the induction motor, and the remaining 30% is spent for the appliances usage and etc. And when it comes to the EV applications in the near future, by 2023 to 25 or by 2030, which is going to have a major increase in the generation, increase in the consumption for the charging stations alone. So when it comes to the electric vehicle, like the petrol pumps, we do have the electric charging stations or the EV charging stations. The main objective of it is that while traveling at a certain distance or to the possible distance, we are going to rely on the charging stations like the petrol pumps. We are going to recharge the batteries, or the charging stations are going to provide the swapping of the batteries. So that is the upcoming area when it comes to the EVs. So why we are mainly focusing on these electric vehicles means it's based on the Kyoto Protocol or the Paris Treaty. We are supposed to bother about the climate change or the global warming. So the government of India is also focusing on the United Nations sustainable development goals. That is, when it comes to the transportation sector, we can think about the SDG 7, that is the affordable and clean energy, and 9, industry innovation and infrastructure, and the 13, climate action. So why we are talking about these SDGs means, by the directions of the United Nations, that is the UNO, all the governments are supposed to implement all these 17 SDGs. And when it comes to the transportation sector, the 7, 9, and 13 are the major SDGs. So by concentrating on these SDGs, we can able to provide the clean energy to the public, and industry innovation and infrastructure, which is meant for the manufacturing of the EVs, and the climate action by implementing the percentage of the EVs in the road segment, we can able to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and by that way we can able to act on the SDG 13, that is the climate action. So the global scenario of the EVs is as shown in the slide. So the electric car market drivers are the stringent emission norms, as I already mentioned, that is the Paris Treaty, and the declining battery costs. We are all aware about that. Once upon a time, the battery costs are very higher, and which is very huge, and very weight, also very power weight ratio is also lesser. And new electric car variants are also entering. Almost all the major automotive segments are either they are in the embryo stage, or on they launched a few products, and a lot of startups are working on this car or the tri-wheeler or the two-wheeler segments. And definitely these are all the drivers, and almost all the governments, state governments also supporting in terms of the GST, or in terms of the taxes, or in terms of the registrations of the lands for the industrial estate, like that. So these are all the support from the government side. And when it comes to the constraints, lack of adequate charging infrastructure and value chain ecosystem, mass adoption of electric cars, reducing the subsidies. The thing is that the charging infrastructure not yet improved as far as India is concerned, and the subsidies are almost the problem when it comes to the government initiative. So European electric car market is the second largest in the world, and we do call it as a Nordic countries. The Netherlands almost implemented the 100% of the EVs, and Europe is aiming for the 50%, 75%, and the 100% by 2025 to 2030. So by technology, we are going to categorize the battery EVs and the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So battery EVs means we are going to implement the swapping technology. That means we do have the battery banks at the charging stations. Like petrols, we can able to swap the batteries at the charging stations. And when it comes to the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, the system is going to be hybrid, which is going to have both conventional fuel system as well as the electric motor. And you can able to charge the system, and you can run the given length given duration or the given kilometers. And if there is any difficulty means you can go for the conventional fuel system, that is the conventional IC engine. And the major players are Tesla, GM, Kia Motors, Ford, Hyundai, Volkswagen. All these companies are working on the EV technology. And Mahindra and Mahindra is also working, and they acquired a company named as Reva at Bangalore. And completely that product is meant for the EV segment. And already they launched a car called as an e-Verito. And Hyundai also launched a Kona model, which is meant for the EV. And when it comes to the market size, only the government incentives or the government incentives will not materialize when the consumers are going to decide the market size. So the global electric car market is going to be a fast growing market in the European region, that is from 2017 to 2023. Thereby they are going to achieve 50% of the transportation through the EVs. And in the Asia Pacific region, there again, which is going to be a largest market by the region, that is in the year of 2026, and keep on increasing. And the year-on-year increase is around 35% when it comes to the market growth rate. And market size is going to be the 5.3 million units when it comes to the EVs, that is the numerals of the sales. And in the 2016, the market size is 0.8 million units. So think about the growth rate, that is 0.8 to 5.3, almost five-fold. And when it comes to the energy density and the progress in terms of the battery technology, so in the year of 1997, the charging capacity is very lesser. That is, we can able to store the charge to the maximum of 80 watts watt hour per kg, and the cost is 500 euro per kilowatt hour of storage. And in the year of 2025, which is going to get reduced, in the year of which is going to be the charge density is going to be 200 watt hour per kilogram, almost again the fourfold increase in the power density. And the cost is almost off. That is in the year of 1997, which is around 500 euro per kilowatt hour, now which is almost equal to 200 euro per kilowatt hour. Hopefully it will come down to 150 to 100 rupees, like that of the our solar panels. So almost the Andhra Pradesh government and the Telangana government, they are the pioneers in the setting up of the lithium-ion batteries. And the Gujarat government is giving importance to the manufacturing of the accessories for the EVs. And Tamil Nadu government already inserted various measures, and a project is materializing at the Hosur, which is inserted by the Ola, that is the two-wheeler segment. So definitely by 2025, as per the Government of India's initiative and the forecast by the Niti Aayog, which is almost going to be 30% of the penetration of the EVs, and by 2030, which is going to cross the 40% of the two-wheeler segment. So by 2030, the Government of India is planning to go for the 100% two-wheelers by the EVs only. And when it comes to the charging, here comes the importance of the electric power. So as we already discussed, the generation is not alone is going to serve the purpose. The generated power is going to get transferred to the various locations or the locality, and this transmitted power is going to be placed for the various applications. So when it comes to the EV, suppose if we are relying on the conventional power generations, that is the coal-based power generations, again, we are not going to support any SDGs, that is the climate action or the carbon emission reduction norms. And if you are going for the EV and parallelly you are going for the renewable energy sources, then only the benefit of this EV is going to get ripe. So the thing is that parallelly, if the power requirement for this EV is going to get increased by 1 megawatt means we are supposed to go for the 1.5 megawatt installation of the renewable energy sector or the power generation. Then only after these losses and these accumulated losses and everything, we can able to consume the power by the EVs, that is the 1 megawatt. So 1.5 is going to get converted into 1 megawatt. Thereby, we are going to achieve the benefits of the climate action or the emission reductions. And the emission reductions already taking place with respect to the conventional IC engines. We are all aware about the BS3 norms, Bharat Stage 3, Bharat Stage 4, and Bharat Stage 5, and now, sorry, Bharat Stage 4, now which is directly moved to the Bharat Stage 6 since 2019 March. So whenever you are selling a vehicle or a dealer is selling the vehicle, suppose if you want to register it through the government, that is the road transport, you are supposed to fulfill the emission norms. Right now we are following the BS6 norms. So in order to have the better improvement in terms of the greenhouse emissions and etc., Government of India skipped norms, that is the BS5 norms, and straight away they went for the BS6 norms. So that is the technology happening in the IC engine segment or the conventional vehicle segment. So in order to get benefit of these EVs, they are straight away going for the various subsidies for the manufacturing plants as well as for the startups on the EV segment. So the first one is going to be the first one is the AC charging stations. Straight away, we are going to have the connectivity between the vehicle and our wall mounted supply system. And we are going to have the one-way communication. That is, the power is going to drawn from the AC universal supply system to the vehicle, and which is going to get converted into DC, then which is going to get stored in the battery banks located in the vehicle. And the second one is the AC with the communication and control and the communication protocols. Thereby, we are going to control and monitor the charging parameters, and we are going to monitor the health condition of the battery as well as the vehicle during the charging itself. So here also the AC is going to be the universal supply system, and which is going to get converted into DC. The major difference between the mode 1 and mode 2 is that we are going to have the control and communication between the vehicle and the supply system. And the third one is the AC. Then we are going to implement the communication as well as the control. Here also the thing is that the power rating is going to get varied. So in the mode 2 maximum, which is going to be the 2.4 kilowatt. When it comes to the mode 3, we are going to have the 3.6 kilowatt, and usually of a single phase system. And if it is a 3-phase system, means the power rating is going to get varied or the current rating is going to get improved. And when it comes to the mode 4, we are going to have the DC charging station, that is the supply system itself, the DC supply, and which is going to tap the energy to the electric vehicle. So the DC is straight away connected to the electric vehicle. Thereby, we are going to reduce the weight of the converters, which is mounted on the vehicle, and you can able to increase the battery packs, and you can able to increase the driving distance. So by this way, the efficiency is going to get improved. The unnecessary load and weight is going to get reduced, and thereby we are going to improve the cost also. So each and every vehicle is not going to have the charging converters. Instead of that one, the charging station itself going to provide the DC, and which is almost the universal system when it comes to the recent EVs. So voltage levels and the duration. So the level 1, level 2 and the DC fast charging are the different voltage levels. Level 1 is meant for the 120 volts, and level 2 is meant for up to 240 volts, and DC charging is in terms of the 480 volts DC. Again, depending on the voltage levels, the duration is going to be abruptly reduced. When it comes to the level 1, at the 120 volts, the time taken to charge the battery packs, which is going to be 6 to 10 hours, which is usually available in the our houses or the apartments, wherein you can park the vehicle at the night time and you can plug in the cables to the vehicle during the evening hours, and you can able to disconnect it in the morning hours. So you can able to charge the battery within the duration of 6 to 10 hours. So when it comes to the level 2 voltage, the input voltage is up to the maximum of 240, and the charging duration is going to be almost reduced to half. That is the previous case 120 volts, which takes 6 to 10 hours. In the second case, at 240 volts, which the battery packs are going to get charged within 3 hours. And when it comes to the DC fast charging stations, which is similar to that of the charging stations established by the NTPC, that is the National Thermal Power Corporation. They at Noida as well as Delhi, and at a few locations at Bangalore and in the Mumbai. Here the charging time is going to be very minimum. That is within half an hour, you can able to charge the battery to the maximum possible extent. That is the full rated capacity. So this is the most widely employed system, best for the highway sites to enable longer vehicle trips. That means if you are crossing around 300 kilometers or the 250 kilometers means like petrol refill, we can go for the charging stations like a small coffee break or the lunch break. We can able to charge the vehicle to the maximum capacity. Again, we can able to continue to the possible extent of another 250 kilometers. So why we are going for the charging and these battery packs means only thing, the problem with the EV technology is the battery technology. When it comes to the power cost of the power, again, which is very cheaper when compared to the petroleum products. And shorten charging times by fast direct current electric vehicle charging for 200 kilometers. As I already mentioned, the charging stations are going to be rated in terms of the power. That is the 20 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt, and the 350 kilowatt. Again, all these things are standardized by the Bharat EV standards. So in case of the 20 kilowatt power charging station, we can able to charge the complete battery pack available in the Indian vehicles to the within 2 hours. And in terms of in 50 kilowatt system, we can able to charge the battery packs within 48 minutes. And in terms of the 150 kilowatt system, we can able to charge the battery bank within 16 minutes. And 350 kilowatt system, we can able to charge the battery within 7 to 10 minutes. So these are all the technologies upcoming. These are all the technology going to pick up in almost all the highways or in the major district roads or in the state highways. And soon we can able to find out the charging stations like the petrol pumps. We can able to charge at anywhere at any time. That is 24/7. And when it comes to the structure wherein the India is adopted, we can go for the private charging, that is either in the apartments or in our own houses. And in the public charging, where there are two varieties. One is the low voltage EVs, that is less than 120 volts, as we already discussed. And high voltage is EVs like 480 volts or etc. 240 or the 480. So again, in the low voltage, we do have the two standards. One is the AC and the second one is the DC. And AC is meant for the monitored and controlled by this Bharat EV standard. That is the Bharat EVC AC001 standard. And the DC with 120 volts means we are going to follow the standard BEVC, that is DC001. That is the 48 volt output, or BEVC DC001 with the 72 volt standard. So in both the cases, that is the either AC or the DC, we do have the power ratings of 3.3 kilowatt or the 15 kilowatt. And we can able to go for the two-wheeler, three-wheeler or the four-wheeler. So as mentioned in the slide, Mahindra ETO or Mahindra ETO plus P6 are the vehicles are straight away using the AC charging types. And when it comes to the DC, all the two-wheeler types are going to be based on this DC. And when it comes to the high voltage EVs, that is the AC or the DC, we are going to have the two standards, that is the IEC 62196, that is the International Electrotechnical Commission, that is the type 2 standard. And for high voltage DC, we are going to have the CCS or the CADIMO. So again, in AC and DC, the power ratings are going to get differed. So in case of the AC, the minimum rating is going to be 22 kilowatt. And in terms of the DC, the minimum rating is going to be 50 kilowatt. So the typical structure of a DC EV charging system is going to be like this. The power is going to get generated in order to have the better climate action control. We are assuming that we are going to draw the power from the renewable sources of three-phase system with the 440 or the 400 volts. Then this AC is going to get converted into the DC. Then DC is going to made into the steady state DC. That is with the aid of filters and other components. We are going to make this pulsating DC into the steady state DC. Then we are going to feed the power to the electric vehicle. So this is going to be the one-way communication, whereas the other communication devices are going to get interface in order to get the data about the battery health and etc., or the charge of state of charging and etc. And with these communication protocols, we can go for the secured roaming and billing. So wherever you are, like FASTag, you can able to pay the payments and you can able to go for the cashless payments. So when it comes to the battery management, again, which is a wider area, that is the battery management system. So here we are going to charge the batteries with the DC power. While charging the battery, we are supposed to monitor the parameters or the health condition of the batteries, or the charging condition, or the percentage of the charging, and the distance with the battery which is going to support the drive, like that. So again, we are going to have the separate communication protocols between the storage and the battery management system. That is the battery and the battery management system. So this interface is going to provide the data to the EV, that is EV as well as the manufacturer. So similar to that of the conventional vehicles, which is going to log all the parameters pertaining to the EV. That is the temperature of the motor, the temperature of the battery pack, the state of charge, the rate at which the battery is discharging, the health condition of the battery, and etc., which is going to get accumulated, and again which is going to be communicated through the respective IoT devices. So where comes this power electronics means? If there exists an AC battery and then DC transformer, there won't be any requirement for the power electronics. So due to the absence of the AC battery and the DC transformers, we are relying on the power electronics. So when it comes to the EV, the charging is the backbone for this electric vehicle. So as I already mentioned, almost the 20 to 30% of the power is going to be consumed by the EVs in the near future. So the charging or the charging stations are the important component when it comes to the EVs. So under such phenomena, or under such scenario, the power electronic converters is going to play a vital role when it comes to the in the recent times. The power electronics penetration is very higher in terms of the renewable energy, or in terms of the appliances, or in terms of the HVDC stations and home appliances, etc. So we can't imagine a comfortable life without the power electronic system, definitely, which is going to be miserable. So when it comes to the air conditioner, we are relying on the inverters, and when it comes to the refrigerators, we are relying on the inverters. When it comes to the washing machine, we are relying on the again the inverter based appliances. And when it comes to the PCs, we are relying on the SMPS. When it comes to the cell phone charger, again we are relying on the AC to DC converters and the power conversions. So a typical power electronic system is going to have the following components, and with respect to the EVs, also the components are going to be as listed. So the first one is going to be the input, which is going to be the input terminals, probably the universal supply system of three-phase or the single phase. And when it comes to the second one, the output, which is going to be the connecting medium between the power electronic interface and the electric vehicle. And the power circuit, again, which is going to be the power converters. The universal supply system is going to get converted into the DC supply, and thereby we are going to interface it to the batteries. And the next one is going to be the isolation circuit. In order to protect the system from major hazards like firing and overheating and etc., we do have the isolation circuit in order to protect both the load as well as the power circuits. So that is the main purpose of the isolation circuit. The next comes the control circuit, wherein when it comes to the power electronic system, we are going to have the power electronic switches, which is going to get turned on and turned off through the particular mechanism or the switching algorithms. So which is going to be mainly taken care by the integrated circuits or the ICs, and of the microcontrollers, the microprocessors or the DSP processors. So the next one is the feedback system. As we discussed in the mode 2, mode 3 and the mode 4 types of charging, we are going to have the feedback system about the voltage, current and the condition of the battery and etc. That is going to be taken care by the feedback system. And the last one is going to be the typical load for the EV system, that is the electric vehicle system, that is the battery banks. So when the battery is going to get charged means various parameters are going to be assessed, like the charging rate, like the temperature light, rise, the healthy condition of the battery cells and etc. So when it comes to the lithium ion batteries, we are supposed to monitor the battery parameters in a precise manner, and we are supposed to communicate it to the power converters. Then only the charging rate is going to be controlled and the life of the battery is going to be improved. And when it comes to the EV interface, the system is going to be like this. That is, the utility interface of renewable energy is going to be there. That is the power source. Why we are insisting on the renewable means, because again we are relying on the conventional power plants, then there won't be any reduction of the carbon or the carbon footprints. Thereby, again this climate change and etc. is going to come into the picture. Suppose if we are relying on the renewable energy sector, then the end result is going to be better and we are going to achieve the expected outcome. So the interface is going to be, the utility is going to be the power source. Then you are going to have the power processor, that is the power electronic converters, which is going to process the power, input power, and which is going to transfer the power to the load. Here it is going to be battery of the required voltage, current and the duration. Why we are insisting on the voltage, current and the duration means every battery pack is designed for the particular rating, and the voltage and the current is going to be the major parameter when it comes to the DC power supply. So the battery is rated for the particular voltage, and the charging and discharging is going to occur at the particular level. If the particular pack is rated for the 24 volts, then we are supposed to charge the battery by 24.8 or the maximum of 25. Again, the discharge rate also, which is going to lie in between 24 to 22.5. So that is the range defined by the battery manufacturers, and the health of the battery is going to be maintained and the life of the battery is going to get enhanced. Suppose if you are maintaining the charging and the discharging rate uniformly. And again, when the battery is completely drained means similar to that of the capacitor, the battery is going to get charged at the faster pace. So under that condition, again, the heating and the thermal conditions are going to get destabilized. So in order to maintain that temperature and the current flow rating during the initial condition, all the parameters are going to be monitored continuously, and which is going to be sent to the power electronic converters and intent to the EV unit. And the next one is going to the control unit, as we already discussed, which is made up of the IC, integrated chips, and which is integrated circuits, again, which is of going to be operated with the lesser voltage, which is going to generate the control signals, that is the triggering pulses for the power electronic switches. So this control is this control input is going to decide the conversion, the conversion parameters like voltage and the current, and the feedback link is going to provide the exact parameters with reference to the set conditions. So again, the EV power interface is going to be an interdisciplinary, which is interconnected with the electrical system, power electronic interface, as well as with the chemical engineering. So when it comes to the chemistry of the battery, again, which is going to have the different parameters and which is going to be monitored continuously in order to have the healthy condition of the battery. Excuse me, just a minute. Sorry, professors, got a call. That's why. Okay. So again, this EV is an completely interdisciplinary, which is going to be between the power engineers, chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, and the communication engineers. So it opens the wider area. Several research areas are upcoming, and it's completely expanding, which is a new paradigm shift in terms of the transportation and in the automotive industry. So it's expanding like anything. Almost all the companies working on the EV, EV's share values are increasing, and the CEO's capital value is increasing, and it's going what we call it as an disruptive technology as far as this sector is concerned. So when it comes to the application or the control part, almost all these CVs are interfaced with the digital communication protocols. So once we used to give the signal through the voice commands, that is the like increase the speed, or you can go for the brake, or you can stop like that. And we used to hear it, and our processor, that is the brain, human brain, used to give the accents. And when it comes to the digital world, everything is going to inherited by the microphones, and which is going to get given as an input to the ADC, that is the analog to the digital converters. Then this analog to digital converters is going to convert this continuous signal into the stream of bits and bytes, and these bits and bytes are given as an input to the DSPs or any kind of digital process, again, which is going to process the given input according to the programmed logic, which is already in the memory, then which is going to provide the output, then which is going to send it to the DAC, then we are going to give the output. So by that way, we are going to control the entire stream of power flow or the energy flow in the electric vehicle. And almost all these things are going to be taken care by the ECUs or the MCUs. So the master control unit or the engine control unit is going to take care of all these things, and almost including the map and the traffic of the road, everything is going to be taken care of by the built-in digital process. And because of all these applications and these converters in the power processing and the charging of the batteries, the power quality becomes an hot topic in the recent transactions and in the recent publications. And because of the huge demand in the EV charging infrastructure, we are more concerned about the power quality. And due to the increased usage of power electronic converters for processing of the power quality issues become the hot research topic. Because either on the input side, that is on the generation side, we are going to have the variable parameter. Either it is wind, either again, which is going to be a variable input in terms of the velocity or in terms of the duration and etc. And when it comes to the solar power, again, which is the sunlight is going to be a variable parameter. So all these variable parameters are going to get connected with the constant parameters, that is in terms of the voltage, frequency, and the uh, amplitude of the current. Thereby, we are interfacing the two different systems, and these two system are going to get interfaced with this interfacing unit, which is nothing but the power electronic converters or the power electronic system. So why we are calling it as an power electronic system? Because the power processing capacity is going to be very larger, and which is going to be controlled with the conventional electronic circuits, and thereby we are calling this one as an power electronic system or the power converters. So whenever we are going to modify the pattern, or we are going to modify the uh, what we call it as a nature of the supply, that is from AC to DC or from DC supply to the AC supply, the nature of the supply is going to get varied, or which is going to get converted into another form. So thereby the importance for the converters are going to be there. Wherever you are using the converters for the power processing, there comes the power quality issues. So the power quality is defined by the IEEE and the various other standards. We are following or adhering the standards meant for the IEEE. And power quality is a term that embraces all aspects associated with the amplitude, phase, and the frequency of the voltage and the current waveforms existing in the power circuit. So power circuit is nothing but the grid. If the power circuits are interconnected, then we are going to formulate the grid, and this grid is also going to prone to such kind of disturbances. Suppose if you are increasing the power electronic loads continuously. And IEEE standard 1100 define the power quality as the concept of powering and grounding sensitive equipment in a manner suitable for the equipment. So why they are defining a standard like this for the power quality, or the terminology for the power quality means a concept of powering means if you are considering the battery, you are going to powering it, and while powering the battery, you are going to ground the converters, and we are going to parallelly maintain both powering and grounding. And we know that the battery is a sensitive equipment, and definitely almost all the equipment or the home appliances are the sensitive, and in a manner suitable for the equipment, not for the consumer or for the any other system. So equipment should not be affected. Similarly, the powering system should not be affected. So that is the major importance of this power quality. And why power quality? So when it comes to the installed capacity of the India, which is almost around 3.82 gigawatts as on date, and the peak demand is going to be around 1.8 to 2 gigawatts. And when it comes to the Tamil Nadu, the peak demand which was happened in the last few months is around 16,000 megawatts. That is 16,151 megawatts. So assume that all these power, that is the 16,000 megawatts or the 1,80,000 to or 2 lakh megawatts, are going to get transferred from generating station to all along the consumer end. So while transferring the power from a particular point to the consumer end, we are going to process it in terms of the converters or in terms of the inverters, or we are going to process it through the transformers, or we are going to process it through the transmission lines. So by that way, all along the way, we are supposed to maintain both quantity as well as the quality among the 5 regions of our grid. Suppose if we are bothered about the quantity alone and we are not bothering about the quality, means again, which is going to have the interruptions in terms of the connectivity. So the southern grid is going to get isolated from the central grid, or the northeastern grid is going to get isolated from the other parts of the country, and which may lead to the blackout or the brownout. So such conditions cannot be tolerated in terms of the power requirement. Thereby, we are supposed to maintain the quality and in turn the quantity, then only the power segment or the power industry can able to sustain. So that's why we are giving the importance for this power quality, keeping the mind in the keeping it the growth for the power converters or the power converter or the EVs. So from generation to the distribution, all along the way, you are going to have the transmission line, then you are going to have the networks, then we are going to have the step up and the step down transformer, and thereby you are going to have the local isolated generators also, and they may connect it to the grid or they may not, depending on their requirement or their power generation capability, depending on the renewable sources. So all along the way, the power is going to get disturbed by the converters, inverters, and the consumers or the consumer appliances. Thereby, we are going to have the disturbances continuously. So when it comes to the power quality issues, harmonic currents and voltages are the major issues. Then comes the voltage dips, voltage flicker, unequal phase displacement, excessive neutral to earth voltage, lower power factor, reactive power flow. So we will discuss one by one in the forthcoming slides. So when it comes to the harmonics, any input regarding the harmonics, any idea? So we do have the signals of two categories. One is going to be the fundamental signal, another one is going to be the harmonic signal or the harmonic components. So if as far as India is concerned, 50 Hertz is going to be the fundamental component. If we generate the supply at 50 Hertz and which is going to be maintained all along the grids in an uniform way of 50 Hertz, means the supply is going to maintain at the fundamental component of 50 Hertz. Suppose if the converters and inverters are going to be larger or there, you are going to have the larger data centers, or you are going to have the larger charging stations, or the larger IT loads, that is the computers, then the particular transformer itself is going to burn to such kind of harmonic components. That is because of the presence of the converters and the inverters, you may have the lower order harmonic component, that is the third order, fifth order, and the seventh order, and it will extend up to 63rd order harmonic components. So as far as the harmonic is concerned, the fundamental means which is going to be the 50 Hertz. And if example, third order harmonic means if the fundamental passes a single cycle, the harmonic component, that is the third order, is going to pass the 3 cycles. Likewise, fifth order harmonic component pass the 5 cycles, whereas seventh order harmonic component will pass the 7 cycles. So we are all aware of that this waveform, that is the amplitude of the amplitude and the shape of the current is going to be the cause for the generation of the fluxes in the coils, and thereby we are going to have the effects in the field system when you are supplying the motors or any other sensitive equipment with these harmonic components. So order means integer defining its frequency as multiple of the fundamental frequency. So fundamental components means 50 Hertz in India, and fifth order means which is going to be the 250 Hertz. That is the product of pi and the fundamental component, that is the 250 Hertz. So the spectrum of a signal is the graph representing the amplitudes of various harmonics as a function of their respective frequencies. So these are all the fundamental and the harmonic currents, three phase. So the first one is the 50 Hertz three phase ROIB sequence, and the second one is the R phase with its third order harmonic component. So the waveform marked in red in color is the fundamental component, and the waveform marked in the purple color is the harmonic component. So when the fundamental component passes a single cycle, the harmonic component passes the 3 cycle. Hence, it is called as a third order harmonic component. Likewise, Y phase is going to have its own fundamental and the third order harmonic component. B phase is going to have its own fundamental and the third order harmonic component. And effects of harmonics, the first thing is going to be the distortion of the voltage. So the voltage waveform is going to get distorted, and which leads to the malfunctions of the sensitive electronic equipment. It starts from the medical devices to the EVs or any larger electric motor drives. And the excessive temperature rise in the motors, as I already mentioned, if it is going to be a fundamental component, we are going to have the reduced ion losses. If you are going to have the other harmonic component, then you are going to have the increased ion losses. Thereby, you are going to have the excessive temperature rise in the motors, and which is going to have the noise also. That is, you are going to have the disturbance in terms of the machine operation. So due to the continuous exposure to the harmonic component, accelerated aging of the equipment will occur. That means due to this excessive temperature rise or the vibrations, all these equipments or the equipment connected to the grid system, the grid is going to have the accelerated aging. And the next one is the oversizing of the sources. Due to the presence of this harmonic component, the reactive power requirement is going to be larger. Thereby, oversizing of the sources may result, that is the sources like UPS, generators, etc. You are supposed to go for the larger rating. So flow of current in the neutral conductor, again, which is a predominant effect of this harmonic component. And this flow of the current in the neutral current rise the neutral potential rise, again, which may raise to the fire hazards. So, and similar to that of the electric motors, excessive temperature rise in the transformers. As I already mentioned, if we study the transformer connected to the data centers or any larger IT load, then the temperature life is going to get reduced, and derating of the transformers is the major concern. And false tripping of the circuit breakers due to the presence of the transients due to these harmonics or the subcomponents of the harmonics. And the risk of resonance will be there. We know that the resonance may occur due to the frequency matching, and due to the resonant condition, the current amplification may occur, and this current amplification will result in the excessive dangerous condition of the transmission networks or the machines. So problems with the electricity. So for all the converters or the inverters, excuse me. So when it comes to the EMC limit, all the utilities as well as the equipment is going to have the EMC limit. And if the limit is within the prescribed limit, there won't be any issues. That means the device or the equipment is going to be operated safely, and which is going to provide the required results. So if in future, if it exceeds the set value, then we are supposed to go for the remedial measures. There comes the filters, or you are going to have the active power conditioners or the passive power conditioners, and we are supposed to bring down the value less than that of the set standard by the set standards for the EMC. So these are all the total harmonic distortion levels of the existing loads. If it is going to be an adjustable speed rise, wherein we are going to employ the power converters or the power electronic equipment at a wider capacity or the wider numbers, and which is going to offer 44% of the THD, and rectifier or the EV charging stations of 28%, the data processing load of 115%, and the fluorescent lighting, that is the electronic choke based lighting means, which is of 53%. And these are all the various standards meant for the power quality. that is IEEE 519/1992. After this, various amendments were made in the particular standard. This is the basic standard for the power conditioner or the inverter operation. And the next comes the IEEE 1459/2000. Again, this standard also made certain amendments, which is specifically meant for the power factor and reactive power compensation. And the third standard is the IEEE 487/1992. Again, this is meant for the wireless telecommunication facilities, that is mainly meant for the interfacing or the communication protocol. Again, this also made certain amendments pertaining to the recent technologies. And the fourth one is the IEEE 1159/1995. Again, this is meant for the EMC, that is electromagnetic compatibility. And this also went for 3 amendments. And the last one is the IEC electrotechnical. All these things are the geographical location-based standards, International Electrotechnical Committee, the European Conformity, and the Underwriters Laboratory, CISPR, and etc. So depending on the particular region, they used to go for the either CE or the Underwriters Laboratory or the CISPR standards. And when it comes to the EV or the ECU, we used to follow the CISPR standards for the marketing. And in addition to that, Government of India is having the separate research entity, which is called as an Automotive Research Association of India, which is located at Pune and in Chennai, which is specifically meant for the testing of the EVs or testing of the any vehicles, which is supposed to be meant for the commercial purpose or the commercial applications. So all these standards are region specific or the product specific or the country specific, meant for the safety of the equipment as well as the safety of the consumers. So the next one is the harmonics. In that we do have the positive, negative, and the zero sequence harmonics. So positive sequence means we are going to have the forward rotation. Negative sequence means reverse rotation. Zero sequence means we are which is of neutral condition, which is not going to either have the forward or the reverse rotation. So need for the harmonic elimination is that power electronic or the nonlinear loads are continuously overtaking industry space from other types of loads. As I already mentioned, once upon a time, the induction motors alone the load, which is meant for the, which is also called as an workhorse of the industries. Recent times that is not the case. Even though we are feeding the induction motor, we are going to feed it through the power electronic converters, and we are going to maximize the operating efficiency. And these nonlinear loads inject harmonic currents in the AC system and increase overall reactive power demand by the equivalent load. So developments in the digital electronics, communications, and the process control have increased the number of sensitive loads. So sensitive loads require ideal sinusoidal supply voltages for the proper operation, because there is any distortion in the voltage waveform or in the current waveform, which will predominantly affect the operation of these sensitive loads. So in order to provide the safe, clean, and green power, it is necessary to reduce the impact of these harmonics. That means we are going to improvise the efficiency by reducing the effects of these harmonics, reactive power, and the associated ill effects of these harmonic components. So reason for power quality problems, as we already discussed, loads are mostly nonlinear. That is the computers, adjustable speed drives, electric vehicle charging stations, lighting solutions are of nonlinear nature, because which is going to process which is going to disturb both the voltage waveform and the current waveform, and thereby the waveforms are going to be in the pulse shaped, and these pulses are going to be the induces or the causes for the harmonics. So the increasing creators of the disturbances because of this processing of the voltage or the current waveforms, equipment become more sensitive, and cost cutting within the deregulated energy market, because everywhere they are going for the isolated grid connection, or they are going for the pilot power generations. So sources of sags, that is the starting of heavy loads by the industries, large motors or the EV charging station. Suppose if a particular charging station is going to have the 10 or 20 ports, all the 20 ports are simultaneously operated means, which is going to have the impact on the nearby transformer or on the transformer located at the particular facility. And brownouts, again, due to the large loads, again, a few megawatts or few integral megawatts are going to get immediately disconnected, or which is going to immediately connected to the load. Then this kind of brownouts are going to occur. And the fault clearing times on distribution feeders ranges in between 5 to 15 cycles. SAG range from 20 to 50% of the rated voltage. So effects of these sags are voltage sags not perceptible to human eye, because suppose if you are feeding the power, that is with the harmonics or the voltage with the sags to the any fluorescent tube or any incandescent light, means it is very tedious process to notice through the naked human eye. And sensitive electronic equipment affected by the voltage sags, again, the under voltage operations may result in the underperforming or the reduction in the efficiency and etc. Sags interrupt service to loads such as automated processes for many hours. And automation is another area like the EV. Almost all industries are opting the automation. So any voltage sags may adversely affect these automation plants, automated plants. So because of this, results in the loss of revenue of millions and millions of dollars or in the rupees. And SAGs needs compensation device to avoid interruption. Need to evaluate the role of protective devices, that is the reclosing after a fault, because the SAGs may end up in the opening of the circuit breakers. And again, we are supposed to go for the reclosing of the circuit breakers. Operating speed of circuit breakers, fuses and reclosers may be affected because of these sags. And need to analyze the causes for the faults. That is like tree falling or the multiple reclosings may be questionable from power quality perspective. And adopt optimum tree trimming policies. Again, we are supposed to maintain the distance between the power lines and the nearby trees. And this is the waveform affected by the harmonics. It is the reflection of the quality of the supply, like the temperature for the human body. The waveform shape is going to decide the quality of the power supplied to the utility or for the critical loads. And to be verified whenever we do new installations, modifications, and also periodically. So whenever we are going for any charging stations or any IT loads or any data centers, we are supposed to check the condition of the waveforms. And if there is any disturbance in the waveform, that itself indicates that the loads are creating the huge harmonics. And reactive power flow, again, whenever you are implementing or deploying any power converters, we are going to increase the kVA demand, because the kVA requirement is going to get increased due to the presence of the converting stations. So which may result in the overloading of the transformers, cables, and the switch gears, because in addition to the real power, you are going to carry over the reactive power also. Increased energy consumption due to the higher losses, and the magnetization current is going to get increased, and you are going to have the losses. Financial penalties for the low power, because as far as our India is concerned, we are doing the 2-part tariff or the 3-part tariff. Again, the implication of the power factor is going to have the impact on the power billing also. So loss of financial incentives for high power factor. Many of the electricity utilities are offering incentives for maintaining the higher power factor. So the another ill effect is that neutral to ground potential rise, and overheating of the neutral conductors or increased energy consumption and risk of fire and destruction. And this we can able to observe in large structures or in the large textile showrooms or in any petroleum refineries. We do have the fire hazards or the fire accidents often because of this neutral to ground potential rise. As per the IEEE standards, it should be maximum of 5 to 10 volts. If it exceeds, means the temperature rise will be there, and there comes the firing also. There comes the fire issues also. So when it comes to the elimination of these harmonics, these are all the types of filters: the passive filter, active filter, and the hybrid filter. The passive filter means we are going to construct the filter based on the passive components, and in case of the active filters, we are going to construct the filtering components on the based on the active component. Hybrid means we are going to combine the advantages of both passive and the active. And the benefits of power quality management is that whatever it may be, either it's a drive load, or it's a charging station, or it's a direct charging of the batteries, or etc. There's improvement. The benefits of the power quality management is that improved reliability of the installation as well as the reliability of the equipment. And the next one is the reduced energy consumption. That means if you are reducing the KVA requirement, or you are maintaining the PF at the higher level, means the losses are going to be reduced. The energy consumption is going to get reduced, and losses are also going to be reduced. And thereby you are going to increase the improved profitability. And if the power quality is maintained in an expected manner, means the life of the equipment is also going to be enhanced. So power quality disturbance need to be analyzed, because the cost related to power disturbances are very higher. There are two types of cost. One is the direct cost and the indirect cost, and the third one is the non-material inconvenience. So the direct cost means which is related to the loss of production, or the loss of raw materials, or the loss of lives, or loss of materials, and etc. And sometimes it may result in the poor efficiency also. So when it comes to the power quality, we are supposed to capture the data with the data loggers, maybe a power quality analyzer or the power quality data loggers, wherein we are going to capture the data, and we are going to continuously monitor the data and analyze, and wherever possible we are going to improvise it, and thereby we are going to improvise our efficiency also. That is the operating efficiency, and which is going to be an attractive prices also. The harmonic elimination technique, the filters we categorized into active, passive, and the hybrid. When it comes to the connection, there are two possible ways. One is the series connected, and the second one is the sun connected. And we can able to adapt the required type depending on the requirements and the location. So active harmonic conditioner is going to be like this. The power source is going to supply the power, assume that, which is going to be a renewable power source, and you are going to feed in the non-linear load, again, which is going to disturb the input supply of both voltage waveform and the current waveform. And here we are going to inject the eye conditioner. That means the disturbance created by the non-linear load is going to be compensated locally. That is I load equal to I source plus the I conditioner. So thereby the disturbance is not going to be reflected in the power source, and the nearby loads are not going to be affected. And the working of the active power harmonic conditioner is going to be like this. That is, so the I source supposed to be a pure sinusoidal one, whereas the load requirement is going to be like this. That is a nonlinear pattern. And both these, that is I source, the combination of this I source and the I load should be like this I fundamental. So definitely this is not going to be the case when it comes to the practical application. Thereby we are going to take out the fundamental component, then we are going to add the nonlinear loads component, when we are going to have the I conditioner, which is going to compensate this waveform. That is the I load waveform, which is going to get added with the I conditioner waveform. Then we are going to give it as an I source waveform, which is going to be an pure sinusoidal one. And the operation is going to be like this. That is, the sinusoidal component is going to be like this. The conditioner component is going to be like this, and we are going to obtain the I load component. So the THD generated is going to be like this. We are going to pass it through the conditioner, through the feedback mechanism and the current sensors, and the disturbed waveform, that is the THD component, the harmonic component is going to be made into the sinusoidal component on the input side itself. Thereby, the data load or any charging station or etc. is not going to have any impact on the source side. The impact is going to get nullified within the load itself. That is the particular load facility itself. So the supply frequency stability, and again, which is going to be a concern when it comes to the small generator or the source, because we are going to on and off, we are going to have the synchronization process on and off. Thereby, we are going to have the stability in terms of the frequency. So for the given case, the frequency is mentioned as 60, and which is of plus or minus 1. So the frequency is going to be continuously monitored by in all the phases, and which is ensured that it's completely within the given range. And this one is the transient due to the surges of capacitor switching or the inductive switching or any switching of the power electronic components. You may have the short duration voltage spikes, and which is due to this large load switching and the nature of the load, and which is going to be a very microsecond phenomena or to the extent of millisecond phenomena, again, which is very injurious to the system. And the next one is the unbalance. In case of the level 1 charging stations, we discussed about the 120, and in the level 2 charging stations, we discussed about the 240. In both the cases, we are going to rely on the single phase AC supply system. And if all the charging stations of the particular locality or a particular facility is connected to the A phase or the B phase or the C phase, particular phase, then the particular phase voltage is going to get reduced, and again, which is going to be a problem when it comes to the 3-phase system or a transformer. So again, in the given condition, the line to line voltage A to B is 475, A to C is 471, and C to B is 460. Out of these three, A and C is okay, and C to B is very poor. That is, the voltage difference is 15 volts. So by taking the average of all these three voltages, that is 475, 471, 460 divided by 3, you will get the 469. So the unbalanced percentage is 1.9 percentage with respect to the C phase. Again, which is a bit over. If it is within the 5 percentage, which is acceptable. And the next one is the unbalance, that is single phase loads, most prominent the EV charging ports at the particular transformers or at the particular facility. Lighting loads are often only 2 phases. Again, the street lighting or the general lighting facility at the particular location. 2-phase welding machines often which will be connected to the local transformers or the local load. Motor loads are commonly the 3-phase, so it won't be any issue. Somehow which is going to balance the unbalances existing in the 3-phase system. And the ill effects of this unbalance is that can cause the 3-phase induction motors and the other 3-phase loads to experience the poor performance or the premature failure because of the mechanical stresses in motors due to the lower than that of the normal torque, higher than the normal current in 3-phase motors and 3-phase rectifiers, which may result in the overheating of the terminal points or the cables or the power devices. Unbalanced currents will flow in the neutral conductors in 3-phase Y system, again, which is going to increase the neutral to earth potential. So what to check the voltage unbalance is that inputs to the motors, VFDs and the UPS, and as when it comes to the unbalance, EN 50160 specifies the standards, and it should be less than 2% at point of common coupling, and NEMA specs calls for less than 5% for the motor loads, and for a specific range, we are supposed to refer the manuals of the particular equipment and the manufacturers. And as we already discussed, continuous harmonics presence in the local distribution network will derate the transformer at the particular locality. So a transformer with about 60% of its load AC to DC converters, which will be derated by the 50%. That means if a 100 kVA transformer is connected to the particular facility, means if 60% of the connector load, assume that which is going to be the charging stations, then the transformer rating is going to get derated to 50 kVA. So again, the transformer derating curve is given by the IEEE 1992 standard. The curve is as shown. So the harmonic spectrum and the analysis. So many meters can display the spectrum for voltage, current, and the power, which will give in the bar chart or in the numerical values depending on the particular equipment. Usually in India, as far as India is concerned, we do rely on the Pook harmonic analyzers of CAT2 or the CAT4 categories. And this is the crest factor to determine the wave shape. Once the wave shape is better, means we can able to assume that the input supply quality is comparatively better. And the recent times, due to the penetration of the CV charging stations and the substations, GAs and etc., smart transmission grids are coming up. The online stability analysis and defense plan for any abnormal conditions. Online asset management is simple. And in the recent times also, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, we are unable to calculate the power bill, and we are relying on the previous month's bill and last year bill and etc. If there is the smart transmission grid, means there won't be any issue in the calculation of the power, energy consumption and etc. And the smart power electronic controls, almost you can able to witness this with respect to the solar PV systems. The power generated on daily basis is going to get monitored remotely on any location on any servers, and which is going to be accumulated or captured at the remote locations. Almost all the power electronic systems are recent times very smarter and which is of IoT based. And the next one is the smart distribution grids. That is the automatic meter management system for the power tariff calculation and the power consumption and etc. Integrated distributed management system, renewable and load management integration are the part and parcel of the smart distribution grids. And smart substation, almost in Tamil Nadu too, we do have 3 or 4 substations. That is, there is no technician or any human interference. The entire substation is remotely operated. Secondary distribution switchgear boxes and everything is going to be installed. Remote disconnection and the reconnection is taken care by the smart systems, and outage monitoring and evaluation is taken care through this smart substation. And these are all the textbooks I have referred for this presentation. That is power quality in electrical systems and distribution reliability and power quality by T.A. Sart, handbook of power quality, voltage quality in electrical power systems, power quality VAR compensation in power systems, power quality measurement and troubleshooting, power quality in power systems and electrical machines. So these are all the textbooks I have referred in addition to the few transactions. And that comes the end of the session. Now the forum is open for the discussions.
Participants, if you have any
Participants can raise the queries. So I think all the participants had a nice sleep. Yeah, nonlinear loads. So when it comes to the power electronics or the power electronic converters or power switches based system, we do call it as a nonlinear loads, because which is the drawing pattern of the voltage and the current is of non-sinusoidal pattern, that is in the pulsed pattern. Therefore, we are going to call it as a nonlinear loads. And similarly, if the induction motor is operating at the light loaded condition, that is lightly loaded condition, that is of 10% or the 15% or 25% of the load, then we can call it as a non-linear load. When the induction motor is operated at the rated load condition, then we can't call it as a non-linear load. Am I right, Professor? Any other queries?
So if there are no more queries at this juncture, I would like to thank our HOD sir for giving us a wonderful session during the afternoon hours. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the session. And it's been really an honor to listen to you once again. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi, sir. Thanks for the nice coordination and the MC. Thank you. Thank you, participants, for your patience listening and for your support. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Participants, the feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Again, tomorrow we'll meet in the same link with the session starting from 9:30 a.m. Kindly fill the feedback link. Tomorrow's session starts by 9:30 a.m.